In our last episode, we discovered the Voynich Manuscript, a 600-year-old book that no one can read. We met Wilfrid Voynich, who found it in an Italian villa in 1912. We learned about Emperor Rudolph II, who may have paid a fortune for it, and we began exploring its impossible botanical illustrations. But those strange plants were just the beginning. Today, we dive into the most bizarre pages in the manuscript, images that have baffled scholars for over a century. After the herbal section comes what appears to be astronomical or astrological material. Section includes circular diagrams, some elaborately detailed, showing what appear to be celestial bodies, zodiac symbols, and systematic arrangements of the mysterious text. One series of pages shows 12 circular diagrams, each apparently corresponding to a month or zodiac sign. Each diagram has a central sun or star motif surrounded by groups of small female figures naked. Women, each labeled with a single word in the Voynich script. Around the outer ring are what look like zodiac symbols, though some don't match the standard Western zodiac exactly. These diagrams could be astrological charts showing planetary positions, medical astrology connecting zodiac signs to body parts or treatments, or calendrical information. In the medieval period, astronomy and astrology were not clearly distinguished. Books on celestial matters routinely combined astronomical observation with astrological interpretation and calendrical calculation. Other pages in this section show elaborate fold-out diagrams. One spectacular fold-out page, when fully open, reveals a large circular rosette design with intricate details. The diagram shows what might be cosmological or astronomical information, paths of celestial bodies, perhaps, or a map of the heavens, or a philosophical representation of the cosmos. There are also pages with what appear to be star charts or constellation maps, though they don't match any known system of constellation identification. Again, if we could read the accompanying text, this section would presumably make sense. Astronomical and astrological manuscripts were common in medieval and early modern Europe. The visual elements, circles, symbols, zodiac signs follow familiar conventions, but the specific information encoded here remains a mystery. Some researchers have tried to match the astronomical diagrams to actual celestial events, hoping to date the manuscript by finding a match with historical eclipses, planetary conjunctions, or other observable phenomena. These attempts have yielded some interesting possibilities but no definitive answers. Now we come to the section that really captures people's imagination, and it's absolutely bizarre. These pages show what can only be described as plumbing diagrams populated by naked women. Small female figures, drawn in the same consistent style as the figures in the astronomical section, are shown bathing in or emerging from interconnected pools of colored liquid. Green and blue are the most common colors. The pools are connected by elaborate pipe systems. The women hold objects, gesture toward each other, or seem to be moving through the liquid. Some pools are circular, others are architectural square basins, bathhouses, structures that might be fountains or reservoirs. What on earth is this? The standard interpretation is that this is a balneological section, that is, it concerns bathing, spas, or hydrotherapy. Balneology, the study of the therapeutic use of baths and mineral springs, was an important part of medieval medicine. There were famous bathhouses throughout Europe, and physicians wrote extensively about the medical benefits of different types of water, bathing practices, and spa treatments. If this section concerns balneology, the women might represent patients. The pools might be different types of baths or springs, and the text might describe the properties of each bath and its proper use. But this interpretation has problems. The pipe systems connecting the pools are unlike anything in medieval bathhouse architecture. The colored liquids, particularly the green, don't match descriptions of mineral springs, and the way the women are drawn, small and numerous, suggests something more symbolic than literal. Alternative interpretations abound. Some researchers think this section represents alchemical processes, with the women symbolizing substances being transformed, the pools representing vessels or stages of transformation, and the pipes showing how substances are moved and combined. Others propose gynecological or obstetric content, perhaps a manual for midwives, with the women representing patients and the diagrams showing treatments or anatomical concepts. More esoteric interpretations suggest religious symbolism, mystical philosophy, or even proto-feminist spiritual practices, whatever this section represents. It's unlike anything else in the manuscript tradition. Nothing quite like it appears in any other known medieval or early modern text. A smaller section contains more elaborate circular diagrams, even more complex than those in the astronomical section. These are sometimes called the rosettes because of their flower-like arrangement. One spectacular fold-out page shows 9 circular medallions arranged in a grid, with additional design elements connecting them. Each medallion contains intricate details, castle-like structures, additional circular motifs, and dense text. This could be a cosmological diagram showing the structure of or these diagrams might represent something else entirely: geographical maps, philosophical concepts, alchemical processes, or spiritual journeys. The level of detail and the care taken in creating these diagrams suggests they were important to the manuscript's purpose. Whatever that was, the final substantial section shows what appeared to be pharmaceutical or recipe pages. These pages feature drawings of plant parts, roots, leaves, flowers alongside containers like jars, vessels, or basins. The text is organized into short paragraphs, each marked with a star or asterisk-like symbol. This looks like a standard pharmaceutical formulary, a book of recipes for preparing medicines. Medieval and early modern medical practice relied heavily on plant-based preparations. Physicians and apothecaries used formularies that listed ingredients, described preparation methods, and indicated uses. If this is a formulary, each paragraph might be a recipe: which plants to use, how to prepare them, what conditions they treat. But again, without being able to read the text, we can't be certain. And many of the plant drawings don't match the plants from the early herbal section, adding another layer of mystery. The very last pages of the manuscript contain only text-dense paragraphs with no illustrations. These might be indices, summaries, instructions, or additional content unrelated to the illustrated sections. So that's what the Voynich Manuscript contains: sections that look like an herbal, an astronomical text, a balneological manual, a cosmological diagram, and a pharmaceutical formulary, all in an unknown script, with illustrations that range from plausible to bizarre. Now let's look at the script itself, because this is where things get really strange. Let's examine the actual writing in the Voynich Manuscript, because this is where the mystery becomes truly profound. The text consists of approximately 35,000 words made up of combinations of about 20 to 30 distinct characters, depending on how you count them. Some characters appear to be combinations or variations of others, what linguists call ligatures. The characters themselves don't match any known alphabet. They're not Latin letters, though some resemble them vaguely. They're not Greek, Hebrew, Arabic, or any other script used in medieval Europe or the Near East. They're not any known form of shorthand. The writing flows left to right, like English or Latin. There are no obvious punctuation marks, though there are occasional decorative marks that might serve as paragraph breaks. There are no obvious corrections, cross-outs, or mistakes, which is unusual for a handwritten text of this length. The characters are formed with smooth, confident strokes. Whoever wrote this knew the script well. They weren't laboriously constructing letters they were unfamiliar with. This looks like someone's native writing system, something they used fluently. Word boundaries seem clear. There are consistent spaces between groups of characters that appear to be words. Paragraphs are indented or separated with decorative marks. The layout looks like text. Structured like text, behaves like text. But what does it say? In the 1970s and 1980s, researchers began applying computational and statistical analysis to the Voynich Manuscript. These studies revealed something remarkable. The text has statistical properties very similar to natural human languages. Here's what that means in all human languages. Certain patterns appear consistently. The most common words appear far more frequently than less common words. This is known as Zipf's law. In English, for example, the word appears much more often than most other words. The second most common word appears about half as often as the first, the third about a third as often, and so on. This logarithmic distribution is a fundamental property of human language. The Voynich Manuscript follows this pattern. Certain words appear very frequently, others moderately, others rarely. The distribution matches what we see in natural languages. Similarly, word lengths in the Voynich Manuscript follow patterns typical of natural languages. Most words are 3 to 6 characters long, with fewer very short or very long words. This is what we see in actual languages. The text also shows structural patterns. Certain characters appear more often at the beginning of words, others in the middle, others at the end. This is linguistic behavior. Different sounds or letters have different distributions depending on their position in words. All of this suggests the Voynich text isn't random gibberish. It has internal structure, consistency, and patterns that match real language. But here's the problem: some of the patterns are wrong. Certain words repeat far more often than we'd expect in natural language. Some words only appear in certain sections. They are not distributed throughout the text as we'd expect for common words. It's as if certain vocabulary only applies to certain topics, which could make sense, but the degree of separation is unusual. And then there's the most troubling issue: the text might be too regular. Natural human language has irregularities, exceptions, unexpected combinations. The Voynich text is more predictable than it should be. If you know the first few characters of a word, you can often predict what follows with uncomfortable accuracy. This is what makes the Voynich Manuscript so maddening. It looks like language. It acts like language in many ways. But it doesn't quite behave like any actual language. Is it a language we've never encountered? A constructed language, like Esperanto? An extremely sophisticated cipher that maintains linguistic statistics while encoding something else? Or is it elaborate nonsense designed to look like language without actually being language? But here's the thing about all these bizarre illustrations and mysterious text: they've survived for over 600 years. Someone went to enormous effort to create this manuscript. They used expensive materials, vellum made from calf skin. They spent months or years carefully writing and illustrating every page. And then something happened, something we still don't understand. The manuscript was passed from hand to hand. From Emperor Rudolf II's court in Prague, to Jesuit scholars, to forgotten archives, until Wilfrid Voynich found it in 1912 and brought it back into the light. But the question remains: what is this book? What do these impossible plants represent? Why are naked women bathing in green liquid? What language or code is this written in? In our next episode, we're going to investigate the most controversial possibility: that the entire manuscript might be a hoax. An elaborate medieval forgery designed to fool wealthy collectors and extract a fortune. Could someone in 1420 have created a fake language so convincing that it would fool experts for 600 years? And if so, how did they do it? Join us next time as we examine the evidence for and against the greatest possibility that everything we've seen, all these strange illustrations, all this mysterious text, might be one of history's most sophisticated frauds.